Hostage stories can be extremely horrible. It's no wonder they're used so often in movies. However, most of the time, it's not the hero who becomes a hostage, but ordinary people who hope to get out of the situation by some miracle. They have to ask for help in such a way that the aggressor won't be aware of it. It's harder than it looks, but love for secret codes and messages can help you in life-threatening situations. From asking for help from a Pizza Hut employee to adding Morse code in a pop song, here are 10 secret messages sent by hostages. Let's begin. Number 10. Pizza app. Cheryl Treadway was held captive by her boyfriend, Ethan Nickerson. The couple had been arguing all day while Ethan carried a large knife and kept sharpening the knife in front of her. Ethan refused to let Cheryl leave his sight and took her phone too. Without her cell phone, Cheryl had no options. She couldn't call the police. Cheryl knew she wouldn't get her phone simply, so she asked Ethan if she could order some food as the kids were hungry. She somehow convinced her boyfriend to give her phone back so that she could put in an order at their local Pizza Hut using their online app. She ordered a small pepperoni pizza and asked the pizza makers to place a 911 call on her behalf. The restaurant immediately contacted the sheriff, who sent deputies to the location who began convincing Nickerson to come out of the house. After 20 minutes, Nickerson agreed to exit the home. Treadway's other 2 children, both unharmed, were also then removed from the home. Number 9. Morse eye blink. Some 55 years ago, Jeremiah Denton Jr. was among the highest-ranking officers to be taken prisoner in Vietnam when he was shot down over Hanoi in 1965. On May 2, 1966, as part of a propaganda campaign, the North Vietnamese arranged for him to be interviewed for television by a Japanese reporter. While speaking on camera, he blinked in Morse code the word T-O-R-T-U-R-E. Eventually, the videotape was widely circulated and reviewed by US Naval Intelligence. Denton's one-word report, delivered in Morse code, was the first clear confirmation received by US intelligence that American prisoners of war were, in fact, being tortured. He wound up serving 7.5 years in the infamously brutal Hoa Lo complex, including 4 years of solitary confinement. Promoted during his captivity, Captain Denton was released on February 12, 1973. After retiring from the US Navy as a Rear Admiral, he was elected to the US Senate, where he served from 1981 until 1987. Number 8. My Dear Mommy. The next story is of a Sub-Lieutenant John Pryor, who was captured at Dunkirk in 1940 and sent to a prisoner of war camp. The letters sent back home by him from a German prison camp seemed innocent enough. They often started with "My dear mummy and daddy," and talked about mundane things such as gardening and a vegetable patch. But the British wartime letters actually contained hidden messages. John Pryor was born in 1919 and died in 2010, aged 91. He spent the rest of the war imprisoned in the notorious Marlag und Millag Nord death camp in northwest Germany, from where he penned 20 letters home containing secret codes. After returning to Britain, he continued serving in the Navy until his retirement. When Pryor came to write his memoirs in 1980, he had forgotten his own code. Academics finally deciphered the secret messages in 2013. A little too late, no? Number 7. The pizza call. Hostages love to ask for help from pizza places, don't they? Keith Wessinger was working as a 911 dispatcher one night when he got a call he would never forget. Keith's story starts with a woman who called to order a pizza. He first thought it was a prank call, but continued to investigate for more information. He realized the victim was speaking calmly while delivering short, hurried responses, and he soon confirmed that she did indeed have an emergency. Checking the history of the address, he found records of multiple domestic violence calls. Police were sent to the address where the woman was found hurt, and the boyfriend was arrested. Wessinger praised the woman for her bravery and intelligent thinking. The 911 call was so impactful, it was recently made into a Super Bowl 2015 ad. Number 6. Dutch hostage crisis. 45 years ago, the Netherlands was the stage of a full-on war zone military operation, which ended in the longest train hijacking ever in the country. On the morning of May 23, 1977, 9 armed terrorists pulled the emergency brake on a rural train and took 52 passengers hostage. The passengers sat that first day in tense silence, throats parched with fear. Their kidnappers guarded them with short-barrel submachine guns slung over their shoulders. On Wednesday, June 8th, a sculptor aboard the train, Bernd van der Struik, flashed a message in Morse code with a pocket mirror. "Come and help us get out." It was a crucial step, apparently convincing the government it should risk using force to free the hostages. There were injuries and deaths on both sides, but finally, the government rescued most of the hostages. Maybe it's time to teach Morse code in schools. Number 5. ISIS. In 2014, a cafe in Sydney, Australia was sieged by ISIS militants, and a lot of 18 people were kept hostages for one whole day. The terrorists took over the place and screamed that the place was under the control of the Islamic State, and if anyone made a wrong move, they would end up getting killed. It terrorized the whole nation. In the cafe, an 18-year-old boy was able to contact his mother, who was at home during the entire ordeal. He was able to give crucial information to his mother about the situation in the cafe, which ultimately helped the police. Fortunately, the hostage made it out alive and well. However, 3 of the hostages were killed during the siege. Number 4. Somali pirates. It is now 12 years since Paul and Rachel Chandler fell into the hands of Somali pirates and embarked upon nearly 400 days of living hell. In the space of just a few minutes on the Indian Ocean, their trip of a lifetime, a long-planned escape from the petty suburban pressures of the home countries, became a journey that really did change everything. The couple used to write travel blogs, but because of captivity, they couldn't write any. The family got concerned over this, so Sarah, their family member, wrote on their blog and wrote, "Please ring Sarah." When they didn't get a reply, they reported to authorities. Transported to a series of makeshift encampments in the baking heat of the Somali bush, the Chandlers were whipped, beaten, separated from each other and from everything they knew. They somehow survived 13 months in captivity before their eventual release in November 2010. Number 3. Pop song. This was actually a message sent to the hostages, but the story is too darn good to be left out of this list. Because of a civil war in Colombia, army officials of the Colombian army were held hostages by the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, a Marxist group. Colonel Jose Espejo wanted to rescue as many hostages as he could. He and an advertising executive hatched a plan to get a hidden message to those hostages. Eventually, the two men found a tremendously clever way to get this message delivered. Listening to the radio was one of the few luxuries given to the hostages. Working with a small recording studio, Espejo helped create a pop song, but hidden within the song's melody was a Morse code signal. Specifically, the message was 19 people rescued, you're next, don't lose hope. The song was ultimately heard by 3 million people, including the 16 hostages. The hostages were rescued safely without any deaths. Number 2. Note from a Chinese reporter. A woman in Arizona made a stunning discovery inside a new purse she bought at a Walmart. A note apparently written by a desperate prisoner in China. The letter, which the woman shared on Facebook, claimed to be a cry for help from an inmate languishing in Yingshuan prison in Guangxi, China. The post first went viral locally, getting shared and liked several hundred times, mostly by fellow Arizonans. After a few days, mainstream publications picked up on the story too. Shares of the note provoked shock and outrage. Even those who were skeptical of the note's provenance were incensed, pointing to a broader issue of forced labor and sweatshops in low-income countries. Number 1. Stitching. Major Alexis Kosdagli was taken prisoner by the Germans in 1941 and sent to a series of prison camps where he whiled away the long hours by sewing. A piece he created in December 1941 looks innocent enough. Indeed, it seemed so innocent that guards allowed him to hang it on the walls at all the camps he stayed in. However, the piece contains 2 subversive messages coded into the borders, messages that would have put his life at risk if guards had discovered them. The outer border spells out "God save the king," and the inner edge was cursing at Hitler. For the 4 years the piece hung on the walls of the prison camps until his release, the Germans never spotted the secret message of defiance hanging right in front of them. Which one of these hidden messages by hostages did you find the most fascinating? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.